If you've ever dug into your garden soil and noticed wriggling worms, you might have caught yourself believing everything you've heard about these humble soil engineers. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe and comment your own worm stories. This channel thrives on real gardener experiences. Today we're cutting through the noise and testing 5 of the most common worm myths that circulate in gardening circles. Whether you're a beginner trying to build healthy soil, or a seasoned gardener aiming for maximum fertility, understanding the truth about worms can transform the way you care for your garden. Many gardeners assume that if you have worms, your soil is automatically perfect, and if you don't, your soil is doomed. In reality, worms are adaptable creatures. While they do thrive in nutrient-rich, moist soils, they can exist in less than ideal conditions too. The key is the type of worm and the soil environment. For example, red wigglers, often used in composting, can flourish even in moderately rich soil with a steady supply of organic matter. Meanwhile, nightcrawlers prefer deeper, loamy soils with good aeration. If you want to increase worm populations, focus less on buying worm-rich soil and more on creating a hospitable environment. Mix 1 part aged compost with 2 parts garden soil. Maintain a 70% soil moisture level and add a layer of mulch to regulate temperature. Over a few months, you'll notice more worms naturally moving in because the soil has become both food-rich and comfortable. This myth falls apart when you realize worms aren't just soil indicators. They're soil builders that will come when conditions are right. Dropping a handful of worms into your garden may feel like giving your soil a magic boost, but worms alone won't solve underlying soil problems. Worms need food and a healthy habitat to thrive, and without it, they simply won't survive long term. A handful of worms in compacted clay or chemically treated soil may disappear within days. The practical takeaway is to focus on building soil first. Incorporate 2 to 3 inches of organic matter, such as leaf mold or well-rotted compost, and gently loosen compacted areas. Only then should you introduce worms. If you're using composting worms, start with a ratio of 1 pound of worms per square foot of prepared soil. Feed them consistently with kitchen scraps or shredded leaves. Over time, the worm population will grow, gradually improving aeration, nutrient cycling, and soil structure, but the key is preparation. Adding worms to poor soil is like planting seeds on a concrete floor. They need a foundation to work their magic. Now, this is one of the most persistent myths in gardening. Worms don't actually consume soil for its mineral content. They eat organic matter within the soil. This includes decomposing leaves, roots, and microorganisms. What you see as dirt passing through their bodies is really processed soil enriched with nutrients from what they've eaten. For example, if you compost shredded carrot tops, coffee grounds, and eggshells, worms will ingest this mixture along with the soil, break it down, and excrete it as worm castings, a form of supercharged fertilizer. A practical method is to start a worm bin using a 1-to-1 ratio of kitchen scraps to shredded cardboard or newspaper. Keep the mixture damp but not soggy, and you'll be amazed at how fast worms turn it into nutrient-rich castings you can sprinkle directly into your vegetable beds. Understanding this helps gardeners see worms as living composters rather than soil eaters. Many folks assume that worms vanish entirely when frost hits, but this isn't true for most species. Worms actually burrow deeper into the soil, below the frost line, to survive freezing temperatures. Nightcrawlers, for instance, can retreat 12 to 18 inches deep and hibernate until spring. Red wigglers, which live closer to the surface in compost piles, may slow down, but will remain active as long as the environment stays moist and insulated. A gardener-friendly tip is to add a thick layer of mulch or straw over garden beds in winter. Not only does this protect your soil from erosion, but it also provides an insulated habitat for worms. If you're composting indoors during cold months, Maintain a temperature around 55 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit to keep your worm population healthy. The myth that worms die off in winter can discourage gardeners from nurturing soil during colder months, but in reality, a little protection goes a long way. It's tempting to think that worms multiply on their own without any effort. While worms can reproduce under favorable conditions, growth is not instantaneous and depends heavily on food, moisture, and temperature. Red wigglers, for instance, can produce a cocoon every 7 to 10 days under ideal conditions, but it can take weeks for a cocoon to hatch and several months for the young worms to reach maturity. Gardeners can accelerate healthy worm populations by maintaining a ratio of 1 part organic matter to 2 parts soil in compost beds, keeping moisture consistent at around 70%, and ensuring the bedding remains slightly acidic with a pH of 6.0 to 7.0. Avoid adding too many acidic kitchen scraps at once, as this can slow reproduction. By understanding worm life cycles, gardeners can plan feeding schedules and soil preparation in a way that encourages gradual population growth rather than expecting overnight miracles. Understanding these myths isn't just trivia, it's the difference between a struggling garden and one that thrives. Worms are living, breathing allies that require thoughtful care, consistent food, and proper habitat to unlock the full potential of your soil. Take the steps to create ideal conditions, monitor their progress, and you'll see your garden transform from the ground up. If you found this guide valuable, make sure to subscribe to Evergreen Garden, share this video with fellow gardeners, and leave a comment about your worm discoveries or challenges. Every gardener's experience adds to the wisdom of our community, and your insights could inspire someone else's soil transformation.